for this next project, we're going to be working with watercolor and Sharpie. And on this project, the first thing you want to do is you want to get a piece of copy paper and just start sketching out some ideas of objects and things that you think about with summer break. So I've been just kind of rough draft sketching some things out here to get some ideas going before I go to work on my watercolor paper. Now, with my watercolor paper, I'm still going to draw out in pencil first, and then I'm going to go back and go over my pencil drawings with the Sharpie. So I'm going to move my idea page off to the side here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start working on my sheet of watercolor. Remember, the watercolor paper is that thicker paper. And since it's thicker, you don't want to press down too hard with your pencil in case you decide to make a change in your design, because you don't want that to end up making an impression on your paper. So I'm just going to go in and start drawing some of the objects. I may draw some of the objects I had larger. I think I've got to include my coffee cup because I really enjoy having time to enjoy my coffee in the morning during summer break especially. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put on the back side here so we can see the coffee, few lines coming up, so it shows that may have some hot coffee coming out of there. I'm going to also include over here, I'm going to draw a beach ball. A major thing that we enjoy doing in the summertime especially is having volleyball games in the swimming pool. Sometimes it's just my family, my husband and my son, but sometimes we have friends over, and that's always fun. And that I'm going to put the net just kind of loosely in here. I'll put a post for that going here. And you see I'm kind of sketching real light, but I'll even go back and erase things after I go over it with Sharpie. And we're going to do some lines, show we got water in the pool. I like having time to be able to go fishing. Fishing's really something I enjoy doing, so I'm just going to kind of get a line going. Get my bobber. It's going to go off the page down there, line coming around, and even coming over here. I'll put a few sinkers on there. Let me make that line wider as well. That line more solid. The Sharpie will just be a thicker line. And let's see here. May have to put up here some painting, because summertime is when I do get to do some of my own artwork. So put that. We'll just put a puddle of paint happening there. Put that in there. We'll just put like a surface it's on. And that may be it. I'm just going to kind of keep it simple. I'm not going to overcrowd it. But now I'm going to switch over with my Sharpie. And as I'm working with the Sharpie, I'm going to be careful not to press down too hard. I'll work my way through all the areas. And we're just doing the outline of things. We're not really we're not coloring anything in on this project. And remember me telling you, you can move your paper any way you need to help you get to areas to work on. It's always a good rule of thumb. Doesn't matter if you're drawing, you're painting, or even if you're holding a piece of paper that you're cutting. Feeling free to turn that to where it works for you best. That's what's important there. The sinkers, I am gonna color those in. Let's see now where I'm going over my fishing line. It's pretty much filling it in. Make this line up here be a little bit thicker. So there, I have my drawing finished up here. Now, before I do watercolor, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back with an eraser, and I'm just going to take away any pencil marks that I might have extra that I didn't go over. Kind of clean it up just a bit. When I'm doing contours with kids, a lot of times we start out, we do it in pencil, but once we get our contours down, I like them to go over things with Sharpies and just making sure they're looking and fine-tuning things. So just like that, I've got that cleaned up now. And I'm ready to go in and start thinking about the watercolor that I'm going to add. Now, when you're doing the watercolor part of this project, you do not want to worry about painting individual objects. That's not what this project is about. We're basically going to create an area of color in the background, and we can do it with washes of color. We can use some techniques with watercolor, like a graded wash in areas, or if you have rubbing alcohol at home, you can take a Q-tip. On the wet paint, you can take the rubbing alcohol and it'll do a real nice resist in areas you apply the rubbing alcohol. In wet paint again, you can add table salt, and once that's dried, you can knock the salt away and it gives a nice pebble texture effect. So there's lots of different things you can do with watercolor than just putting it down as a flat wash. But you're going to kind of just experiment and think about colors that you want to use with your watercolors. I've got some salt here, and I've got some rubbing alcohol. I'm not sure I'm going to use those, but I have them in case I do. And I've got my watercolor set over here. I've got it over to the side with my water and my brush. So I'm just going to start out. I'll start out with some blues and some purples, I believe, to fill in areas. And see, I'm painting over the whole area. Pick up some purple and put in there. I'm putting it in the blue to create a wet on wet effect that's happening there. Getting it darker in areas. I might do something interesting with the salt in areas like on my cup. And I'm gonna make sure that I've got areas that the paint is wet. Likewise, you could do what we're doing here, but you could paint your background first, let it dry, and then draw on top of it. You don't want to let that the drawing dictate how you have to paint it. We'll kind of leave it loose and open. So I'm just getting everything painted in here nice and quick. I'm going to go in. It's got some really cool stuff going on here. But I'm going to take a little bit of salt. And I may even put it down here a little bit. We'll see what happens. Got the rubbing alcohol. I'm actually going to take the end of my brush and see if I can get it to do something going around the edge, following this line. It's starting to dry in places, so it may not work as well, but we're just kind of playing and experimenting. But if you don't have the rubbing alcohol at home, that's no big deal. It's just another one of those cool little techniques and things that you can do. But yeah, just like that, we have our watercolor summer dreams. And as I said, once the salt dries, you can see where it's starting to pebble up. But once it completely dries, that salt you just knock away.